I wanted the railing to be 36 inches high and the top to have a 1-inch cap. So from the dock deck to top of post is 35 inches. The deck is 6.5 inches thick, so I figured if I let the post hang past the joist about 2.5 inches, the post should be 44 inches total length. I needed 7 posts, so I cut 8. Next step is the cutaway. I set my tri-square for half the thickness of the post, 1 3/4 inches, and drew a parallel line on 2 sides. I squared it off at 35 inches from the end and set my circular saw to cut 1 3/4 deep. Once cut, I gave the post a good whack. Cleaned up the cutaway with my chop saw, something I don't recommend unless you are quite experienced. I ended up with a slightly concave notch that would mount nicely to the deck joist. Next, I configured the holes for the lag bolts. I staggered the holes about 1/2 inch off center, making sure the lag bolts would not hit a beam bolt. I drilled a 3/16 receiving hole and mounted the post loosely. I needed to bring out the top of the post slightly and inserted cedar shims above the top bolt. Then I tightened both bolts and checked for plumb both ways. With both corner posts vertical, I established the center point and the length of each railing section. I squared it off and mounted the center post. To make sure the center post was in line with the end posts, I strung a line and adjusted the vertical as before. Then I repeated the process on the long side. Now I established the length of the longest railing section and cut the parts. I used my spare post and a scrap piece of 2x4 to establish the spacing of the horizontal rails. Once done, I had the length of the 2x2 vertical balusters, which were easy to cut, still bundled up. Next, I spaced the balusters on a 1x4, the same length as the rails, which then became my drilling template. Normally, I would space the baluster at 5 inches on center, but I wanted a little more open view of the canal and decided 6 inches on center was better in this case. A scrap piece of baluster worked well to configure the actual screw holes, which I staggered diagonally. made a jig that would keep the baluster in the center of the rail and the spacing uniform. Then flipped it over and repeated it. The sections on the long side fit. The 3 sections needed to be cut. Working from the center out, I measured half the distance between posts. With one end cut, I measured the full length, cut it, and amazingly it fit, right on top of the deck blocks. Most people have heard of toe nailing, but toe screwing? The top subrail came next. I had the measurement in my head, but I double-checked just in case. I cut a couple of spacer blocks 4 inches long. It made my job a little easier that way. The purpose of the pipe clamp is to draw the post tight against the railing sections. Finally, the cap. Same as the deck planking. Mitering the corners. Applying a generous amount of construction glue. The excess I'll chip away after it has hardened. Then it's just a matter of fastening the cap with deck screws. 2 at the posts, 1 in between at about 16 inches on center, and 4 in the corners. Of course, clipping the ends too. After a couple of days, most of the crud had drifted away, and the dock could be enjoyed.